Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Lunch Update, our program that helps you stay curious, connected, informed, all live in real time. This conversation, as all of our Lunch Update programs, are made possible by our presenting sponsor, Perkins Coie, with an additional thank you to our Accelerate sponsors, Baker Tilly and Easy Office Products. This program will feature a conversation with the president and CEO of Forward Janesville, which is Janesville's Chamber of Commerce, Shar Hermanson. But first, let me give you a few of our chamber updates. The 12th annual Pressure Chamber Startup Competition is set for August 19th. And this year, for the first time, it is at the Sylvie after being at the Majestic for a number of years. Good sign that we are bullish on being able to grow that audience and fill a much larger space. This is an opportunity for you to see some of the region's most exciting early stage companies who pitch their ideas to a panel of national investors and a live audience, both with a say in who wins. The winner will receive a reserve spot on the Chamber's meetings with top Silicon Valley and San Francisco venture capital firms later this fall. You can register to attend Pressure Chamber by going to the Chamber event calendar or on our website, and you'll see it also in the webinar chat just posted now. But as always, if you're curious about these things, just go to madisonbiz.com. If you have an early stage company and you're looking to take it to the next level, or you know someone who does have an early stage company, you'll see the Pressure Chamber application also in the chat. Feel free to send that out to those who might be interested. There are some requirements. This is not for every company, and so we ask you to take a look at the prerequisites before you apply. But you will find that application in the chat, also on the Pressure Chamber event webpage on our website at madisonbiz.com. Applications are also open for the 32nd cohort of Leadership Greater Madison. This is a program that provides civic education and community issue literacy, and frankly, some great leadership development and training opportunities for business and nonprofit leaders in our region. You can learn more and apply at the LGM page on our webpage. The deadline is coming quickly. It is July 21st. We do have an informal happy hour and info session a week from today, so Wednesday, July 9th, at M3 Insurance. So thanks to M3 for hosting, and you can register for that on our website as well. The save the date for our annual meet and greet with local leaders. So we have got a regional meet and greet that we do with the mayor, the county executive, and other municipal and government leaders from around the region on August 26th. That event, as always, is co-hosted with our partners at Destination Madison. You just keep an eye out for that, so just hold the date, but we'll have more information on how to register. This will be one of the first times that it has been more open to the public to attend, and so we hope that you certainly will. And then it's never too early to join the wait list for our 72nd annual dinner that's happening on October 21st at Monona Terrace. It's a smart move, as always, to grab these tickets, or at least grab your spot in the reservation line. The tickets always sell out, and this year will be no different. So put your name on the wait list now. You'll be the first to know. You can hear about theme and speaker and all the other great details that we have in store yet later this fall. There are a few sponsorship opportunities that are still available. We are always in a fortunate position where there is a lot of enthusiasm and eagerness to sponsor this event. But being that it is July, there's still a few opportunities that are available. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, you can contact our managing director of engagement, Jill Wood, at jill@madisonbiz.com. But you can also find her email in the chat. And now for our guest. So joining us today is Shar Hermanson. As I said, Shar is the president and CEO of Forward Janesville, and she took over that role last June. And before that, she was the executive vice president at Midwest Family Madison, managing 8 radio stations and their digital marketing agency. Previously, Shar served in multiple executive level sales and management capacities at radio stations and at the Janesville Cassette. She has been a Forward Janesville ambassador, so she knows the organization well, a leader in the fundraising group Girls Night Out of Rock County, and on the board of directors of the YWCA. So Shar, welcome, and thanks for joining us on Lunch Update.
Thank you for having me.
So it's been a little over a year now, right? So you've been in this new great role just south of us. How's it been? What's been your experience over the last 12 months or so?
It's been an amazing experience. So one of the things that I always knew to be true is that the business community in Janesville is very engaged and very interested in moving Janesville forward, right? So that's why they rebranded that as Forward Janesville in the early 90s. And so it's been an exciting role, and people have just really accepted me moving from media into this position. And whenever there's a question or a new opportunity pop up, there's somebody there to just jump in, like it does happen in the chamber world, to help us out. So we've been able to move the ball pretty quick in Janesville in the last year. So we're proud of what we're doing here.
What brought you back and what interests you? Obviously, it's a great dynamic century-old institution, but what made you want to go from a successful career in media back and take a helm of a community organization in Janesville?
So it really did start when the GM plant closed in '09, and John Beckert did a speech back then, and he really talked to us about the glass is half full. There's a lot of opportunity. People are looking at Janesville in a different way now. Now I've been in Janesville for a long time, so we knew something would happen with the Janesville plant. My husband worked there. We speculated that it would have an end date. So now we knew what the end date was, and now it was like, okay, now is that opportunity. We can refresh and figure it out. So at that time, John really talked about Quint's book about building a vibrant community, and everybody started reading the book as a team together. And really, we focused on three pretty simple principles, which is to try and get some small wins. So that's when they put together the Rock 5.0. Get civic engagement, have people understand what we're going to be doing, and empower local leadership, and try to create an ecosystem where people wanted to be. So you can still see all of those things in play. And I was on the news media reporting side of it back then, as I worked at the Gazette, and I could see all of that coming together. So for me to move myself from a person who is maybe reporting on it, or I was in sales and marketing, or being aware of it, to being able to figure out how did we do those things? How did we bring all that together? It's been just a wonderful puzzle. It's kind of how I would describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched that puzzle come together, in sort of multiple roles. And I said this to your board, and we'll get to that here in a second about the conversation that we had together with your board of directors. But so many places around the country just become incapacitated when something like the Janesville plant shutting down. And it does seem that Janesville took something that was a tragedy, I mean, to the community as a whole, but turned it into something positive and used that resourcefulness and that grit and that stick-to-itiveness that have defined the people of Janesville and of Rock County, and really built something new and vibrant. And when you think about those sort of new, vibrant opportunities that are in front of you, what excites you most about what's happening in Janesville?
Well, we still are working on a rise now for people who know about that. That was the redevelopment of downtown, where we took out the parking plaza, right, and built new structures. We have a bubbler down there. They've moved the farmers market. It's in the sixth year, and it's expanded downtown. So when we're looking at attracting young talent, they want to know what's going on in your downtown. So Jack and Jenny's is going to open downtown here July 3rd. And you are just seeing a resurgence. I've been talking to people who maybe they moved away from Janesville and now they've come back, and they're really excited about what they see when they return. And that's a good feeling, right? We still have more work to do, but when somebody comes to your downtown and says, I haven't been here for a while, and there's some excitement, there's vibrancy, there's music on Tuesday nights. I would have never expected there to be music in Janesville on Tuesday. Um, Something that's really big for us, Zach, is the new Woodman Sports and Convention Center is opening up this fall. That's going to be regional opportunity to bring people to experience Janesville. So there's a lot that is happening. We'll talk about all the things, but yeah.
That's right. I mean, let's maybe just start there with the Woodman's complex. I don't think people realize how big and what a regional resource that's going to be. Can you just give us a thumbnail sketch of all that's going to be in that project?
Yeah. So, well, it's a $48 million facility, right? And there was a public-private partnership, which I think Janesville's getting famous for their public-private partnerships and how we can put things together. The Jets are going to be there, and that's a team or hockey team, and they can seat 1,200. So they'll be there year round, and they'll be able to get on the ice and run their summer clinics and bring youth in, because we really want to make sure that our young people have something to engage in. Since we're in Wisconsin, we might as well give them a winter sport. Then the space next to that is going to be ice for part of the year, but then they can do pickleball there, they can do basketball, volleyball. So as we are looking at regional youth traveling sports, will be a place that people can come and host their tournaments. And then the third space is going to be a convention center that we've never had a convention center this size in Janesville before. So of course, Forward Janesville is excited that we're going to host our annual dinner, but there is a sales team that's working through Janesville Convention and Visitors Bureau that will sell. If you want to have a regional event, you can look at Janesville. And I know that the mall has obviously some inquiries on additional hotels moving to the area. So there'll be a whole rebirth of that particular area of Milton Avenue. And we are seeing the Culvers down there. They spent a bunch of money to add capacity for all the extra traffic that they're going to see. So it's exciting, and people are ready for something that's going to be completely different for our community.
Yeah, youth sports and Culvers, they definitely go hand in hand. So that's smart that they're expanding. And it's great that you're
Yeah.
moving your annual dinner there. We'll be excited to come and support, much like you came and supported us at Icebreaker. We certainly appreciated having you and your team in the audience. And obviously, one of our speakers was a great product of both of our communities and doing great work and changing the world in that work.
Yeah.
And after that, you and I were walking out, and we were talking about, what are the opportunities to share more. And I was flattered that you asked, for me to come speak to your board and that they were interested. And I did that just a few days ago. And I'm curious as to now that we've had a little bit of time between that presentation and this conversation. I'm certainly thankful for the opportunity, but I'm curious as to what was the conversation like after and subsequent to that, from the takeaway, which the talk we titled was the next 90, both a play on the I-90 corridor, which I hope we can get to here in a little bit, but also it's 7.5 years, right? And so like, what can we
Yeah.
collectively accomplish and, in the next, before the next 10 years? And so I'd be interested if you give me a peek behind, and the audience, a peek behind the curtain of what did your board take away? What were they excited about? What was
Well,
the scuttlebutt?
yeah, well, a lot of them are regional companies, right? We have JP Cullen that's represented on our board. Obviously, Mick Gilbertson has some connection to Blaine's Farm and Fleet there, right?
Right.
And so our many of our companies work in a regional basis. BMO is in Madison as well. So they live and breathe just like I did in media, how people easily move between the communities, and what can we do to work together to bring people to the Midwest, to bring them to this region and increase our population and help these companies like Shine. Like Shine needs bright young talent on a regular basis as they have strong plans for growth. So attracting new companies is a big interest to Janesville. We have space to grow and develop. We have some sites that are ready for development, and so we are excited to offer what we have, right? We have a great resource of a hardworking community, strong manufacturing base, a lot of talent, a great Blackhawk Technical College system where we're 8,000 kids are going through that every single year. So we have a lot of resources, and to have our opportunity opened up a little bit so that we can function on a more regional basis. It's what everybody should be doing. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, same. I left, the 50-minute ride home, which is nothing when, it's two phone calls. I left energized by, what I heard. And some of the things that you and your board said ahead of time about your thinking about the future. As I think about what that future, collective future looks like, you heard this, our viewers have heard us say it a lot. You certainly heard it at Icebreaker. But the greater Madison region is expected to hit 1 million residents by 2050. It's even more if we add in Rock County and Janesville.
Mhm.
And that the economic center of gravity is growing, right? It is expanding. It is, certainly beyond what had traditionally been the city of Madison. And that our commuter patterns and commuter sheds are changing. there's housing stock challenges sort of across the board. And there's a lot more people that are commuting from one community to another. We feel it just on the Beltline. It was not that long ago where if you were headed from the west to downtown, that was the most congested way into town. Now it feels like if you are headed from the east, headed west past downtown, that is some of the most congested places. So we just see it in our traffic patterns and in our commuter sheds. And it's a good reminder of that we should be, as you said, should be thinking about ourselves regionally when it comes to business development, how we talk about ourselves, how we talk about the shared opportunities of the region, but even how we invest in housing and transportation and transit. And so as we see those as the boundaries grow, one of the things I thought was really interesting, and it's not something that I hear a lot, but I was heartened by it, was that your leadership at the board, when we talked about what did you want to hear, and we talked about what a regional footprint might look like in collaboration, that you guys included Rockford in that conversation and said, certainly Madison, Janesville, certainly Dane County, Rock County, um, but then said, can we take a look at what Rockford looks like too in that equation, and maybe even going up north to the Dells. But I'm curious
hmm
about what Rockford looks like in your conversations, because usually people see straight the state line as a competitive thing, and you guys
Yeah.
have a different view of that.
Well, so being in Janesville as long as we are, we know how Rockford and Illinois people, they love Wisconsin. This is their vacation land, right? So we saw the net migration. I think we had 9,000 people that moved up here from the Rockford, Roscoe, Rockton area last year. So Rockford has a strong manufacturing base. They're strong in aeroscience. So they might have some additional capacity that they might need. And we could build something here in Janesville to support the aeroscience industry. And with what we have done, right, with Shine and some of those other companies, there's just really no limit to what we can do. It's really us putting ourselves out there and letting the region know that we are open to development and opportunity. James Otterstein is our county economic development director, and he's been in the role for a long time, and he knows how to move things forward. He's really effective at getting people and processes moving forward swiftly. So that's a regional asset that we have, and we want to make sure that James is as busy as he can be with new inquiries and showing people around and helping them understand how Rock County could be a great place for their company to be in the future.
Yeah, one of the things that when I had to stop out at Shine's headquarters after I left your board to drop something off, and obviously the vibrant downtown, you feel it when you are downtown, but just the growth in some of the logistics companies that you have out by the Shine plant, it just
Yeah.
the scale of that development just kind of shows you what the possibility can be being in that 90 corridor in that southern part of the state. But a lot of that is possible because of leadership from Ford Janesville. I mean, candidly, it was this vision of an expanded 90 or 3990. That project, I think, kicked off in around 2010.
hmm
It was part of whether it was the county or whether it was the municipality, I forget, but certainly that Rock 5.0 roadmap for Rock County's future. And we were happy to be a key partner in supporting that expansion. It certainly benefits all of us. But now that it's done and $1 billion has been invested, what do you see as the success that made something of that magnitude possible? Something that really required a lot of regional cooperation and state and federal. What were the keys to making that project work?
Well, I think three things. Number one is that you have to have a vision for something and you have to stick with it. So Dan Cunningham worked on planning for that thing for 10 years to get it to the place where it could come. And then there was another 10 years that he worked on actually getting it here. So he invested a lot of time and he had a huge stakeholder investment in that. Working with regional partners, traveling, to the state, traveling to DC, talking about how this was important for our area, that we see Chicago growing tremendously. They travel up to Wisconsin. There were safety issues on the interstate. There were some very notable large crashes that happened, and we wanted to send a message that we want to open that up so people can travel easily into Wisconsin and they have a good experience. You don't want them to come and get stuck in a traffic jam immediately as they enter the state. But more importantly is that we saw Dollar General come in and they added 550 jobs. That's that's really important for our community. We've seen a lot of expansions. We see IPM Foods here now. United Alloy is a metal fabricator, and they
A
are
huge facility.
huge. It's up to 500 people now. So it's a really strong employer for our community, and they do a lot of workforce development activities as well. They work with our youth. Universal Recycling Technologies, Prent has recently had a major expansion. They're going to have a Business After 5 with us. So if people are curious, check out our Business After 5 calendar, and they can come take a tour of their new innovation center, which let's see, Angie Energy has expanded. The Hovde Apartments, the Glades, right? That's been a big addition. So we see regional people. Think some of those folks who are living out there right now, they just maybe come to their place at the Glade and then they get back on the interstate and go to work. But as they're in the community a little bit more, they'll start to check out downtown. They'll start to move around the city and see what else is here. And then, like you said, the logistics, John Deere and Cummings Engineering are out there. So there's been a lot of development that we can attribute a portion of that to I-90, as well as the Sports and Convention Center, right? Where the city doesn't want to invest, or the state doesn't want to invest that kind of money into a facility where we wouldn't have proper traffic flow. So I think that's part of that equation as well.
Yeah, that's a great success story, and I love to see that the products of that investment are paying dividends so quickly for the region. I took a look at your policy document, and increasingly chambers seem to be walking away from their advocacy role, but Fort Janesville seems to uh, be leaning further into it, and we do the same. And so I was heartened to see there were quite a few similarities between our organizations when it comes to things that we see as important. One of those was, we had Oscar Mayer close, and we've thought a lot about what that plant and the footprint around that plant could be. It's been 8 years since it closed. Similarly, your government relations committee or council has been working on partnering on what does Centennial Park look like, and the old site of the GM plant. I'm curious as you guys look at that, what's next post the GM closure. What's the most recent update on Centennial Park? And maybe walk people through just quickly what it promises to be.
So yes, I will do that. So that's the old GM plant, and that was on the north side of the property, and then the south side was the old Jacko plant. So we have a large industrial property there, and we have two railroads that go through there. There's access to water there. There's easy access a few minutes away from the interstate. It's in a place where we're used to having manufacturing at that side of town. That was there for almost 100 years. We missed it by, I think, a couple days of 100 years of manufacturing at that site. So it's a large site, and we have a lot of opportunity with it. The north side of it is probably best suited for some type of manufacturing. We've been talking to the folks in Kenosha, as they're a few years ahead of us. They have the Kenosha Innovation Center over there. Their property is a little bit smaller, so we're hoping with the large swath of land that we do have, that we might be able to do, yes, housing, yes, maybe an innovation idea, but also manufacturing, because with those two rail lines there's certainly a lot of opportunity. There's a large power source that's there, and we have the water. So I think the site is unusual, right, in the assets that it has. And now that the city of Janesville owns that site, I'm sure I know we have some meetings set up with them that they're going to start sharing their vision, and I'm sure there'll be community. We did some community collaboration. There was a grant that they had applied for. But as the changing landscape of federal grants has changed, we kind of said, well, that community change grant's not going to happen. But there was some work that we did around that, so maybe some of that sticks. I think they're just trying to get their eyes set on what opportunities are out there. And I think that the city and county economic development offices have been busy with people asking them questions about what opportunities and what could happen on that site. So I feel like we're probably right in the thick of it, if you would, Zach. And we'll certainly, when we have things to share, we will certainly make sure that we are sharing that. But yeah, our government relations committee has a team that's dedicated to tracking with the city and county partners so that we can help support and facilitate whatever comes through their offices, that we can be supportive and move the project forward as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's great. The in reading the um some of the priority materials, I think one of the things I knew, but I'm going to share it with the audience because I think it's important to illustrate that challenges around housing affordability aren't just unique to Madison, and that Janesville is grappling with some of those same questions. You mentioned the Hovde project, and now potential that Centennial Park might have some housing or will have some housing. Talk to us a little bit about Forward Janesville's approach to housing on a local level, and what are some of the concerns and opportunities that you're seeing?
So when I arrived in this role, one of the things that Kevin Lader, our city manager, talked to our board about was we needed to do a business retention and expansion survey for Janesville. And one had not been done since the Rock County 5.0 initiative. So one of the great things about Forward Janesville is our board's very active, and we had a ton of activation with our board, and Tanner Voss led that from BMO Harris. So we went out and we did 50 interviews, and we found out who wanted to expand, what that might look like for them. We found 60% of them wanted to add workforce in the next 12 to 24 months, which is a really robust number. And then we started asking them, okay, if you had any challenges, what would those be? And so they detailed that the first was housing. And we heard stories about if they wanted to add 100 employees, where would those 100 employees be? Um, Obviously, there's another challenge with executive housing, that do we want our executives to move to Janesville? So they need housing that works for them. So it's really, for us, it's housing at all levels for our community. There's not just one group. We are working at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater on a Rock County housing study, and then we are asking them to kind of break that down just to Janesville, because when you take it on a county-wide scope, some of the numbers, we have a lot of rural property here, so we're looking at that. But that's showing us we're at least 1,200 units short of where we need to be to
Yeah.
just meet our current demand. So um, so we are right now in our assessment phase, Zach, and we're excited about bringing that in. And then we're going to form a housing, where we have formed a housing work group to kind of get together and then build out a plan to address it, show these opportunities to potentially regional developers, and see who might want to come in and help us solve this problem, as well as, of course, local, right?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other things similar as I saw is, during the pandemic, our organization did a lot of modeling and thinking about how do you turn off an economy. We heard that, well, certain things have to shut down. There's essential and non-essential industries. And we heard a lot from politicians about it's a light switch or it's a gas pedal. And we all know it's not that simple. And so we did a lot of exercises during the pandemic to try to understand how do you take down and put back together an economy with as little disruption as possible. And the analogy we ended up coming up with was a tent. That is probably the best example of how complicated, and any missing piece will create problems. And so you have your tent poles and you have your sort of the canvas of it. But there are these coupling industries that are it's easy to forget a stake or a tie down or a linchpin that goes into what it takes to hold a tent up. And childcare was one of those things that, as we were going through the exercise, that we probably had never really given enough attention to, and the conversation about how do we do what is necessary for our workforce and for our economy and for our businesses. And so we have spent a lot more time thinking about childcare. And certainly childcare is facing some unprecedented challenges around competitive salaries, some of the costs and the limited space. There was some good news in this agreement between the governor and the legislature on some additional funding. But you recently launched a child care directory, which I thought was an innovative approach that helps connect employers and their employees with child care providers. When did you launch it? Why did you launch it? What have you learned from it? How's the response been?
So we just launched it a month ago, and the response has been tremendous. It's one of our top visited pages now. And the goal of that is to show employers the resources that we have in our community. But something that's come out of the child care directory as a result of the work group, which is built from of child care providers, is that this provides them an opportunity to convene and just talk strategically about the problems that they have, and actually how to solve those problems. So we've seen a couple outcomes since we've convened the child care group together. We've seen that the YW has now launched a twos and threes program specifically because one of the gaps is with younger care, 2 and 3 year olds. The YMCA has now added infant care in their Milton facility. So we're seeing them coalesce, come together, and have productive conversations and figure out what each of them can do within their capacity and role to help the overall objective of childcare. And one of the big initiatives that we have is we are in the process of building a new Boys and Girls Club here in Janesville. So they are a couple. I think they're about $2 million away from their goal. So if anybody wants to support them, they are currently accepting donations and they have a match. But they've done a great job. They have $8 million toward their project. They broke ground, and that's going to be innovative. That's going to be an opportunity where they're going to do workforce development at the Boys and Girls Club, and it's situated a little closer to the south side. So as something might come into the GM site there, that childcare will be located conveniently for those employees, and we'll see that as being like before and after school. So yeah, it's been a great opportunity for us to, one of the outcomes is just bringing those providers together and them talking how to solve the problem, and they're coming up with new solutions, each time they get together, and they talk about wages, and that's a challenge for all of them. But they've been able to get past the wage conversation because they're really trying to drive towards solutions.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we should add that to our list of places to collaborate because I think we could share ideas, and we'd love to take a look at what you've built and see if there's something similar we can do here. Another shared priority of the organizations is talent recruitment. We're both heavily focused on getting more people, not just to visit, but to stay. Um,
Hmm.
Last year, we launched Be Madison umbrella brand, and part of that, there's a video we call the Wayfarers video. Um, but I also noticed that you recently won a national award from the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives for What's Next video that I've been able to watch. I think we'll put it in the chat for everybody. I thought it was a great video. And the framing of it was great because it talked about the future and what growth looks like and the development, but also you really got a sense of what Janesville is, and not just who it aspires to be, but what you are experiencing if you live there, visit there. Um, How's that fit into your talent recruitment? How does, getting that award and that video fit into as what you think about your role in recruiting talent to Janesville?
Well, the video for us was very important. We actually tied it into our annual dinner. We brought Fred Smith, who recently is deceased, but the chairman of FedEx came to town, and he was so intuitive and spent a lot of time on prep calls to learn about Janesville. He was very curious about what we had done here, and he was very inspired by our work ethic and how we wanted to get after it and tackle the problem. And so as he was coming to town, we were kind of visualizing how could we really tell Fred the story of Janesville. So we came up with the idea of a video that we'd play at the annual dinner because it's not realistic that he was going to drive around town to see all these things. So we thought, let's just bring this to the stage to show him what Janesville really is and all the things that we're working on. Then, of course, what's next, which we've been threading that through our communications this year because everyone asks us that. We are a new staff just together in the last year and a half, right? And everybody has seen so many great things out of Forward Janesville in the past. So often they'll ask us, well, what are you guys going to do? What's next? And we thought, let's put that out there and let the community start to answer that question for us and tell us what do they want to see? What's next? So we saw the business hub and our downtown business district worked with the students to ask them what do you see in downtown Janesville? What do you like about Janesville? What are we missing? And one of the things that they gave us some great feedback on, because you're really strong in recruiting young professionals, is that some of the festivals have beer and they're too young to drink beer. So what could we put together, or what could we offer as an alternative for that younger demographic? So we are starting to see a lot of conversation where people are bringing us feedback on what's next. Um, with that group, we're also doing a branding initiative for downtown Janesville to identify, who comes to downtown, who are they, and how can we take what we have that's so special and attract more people to let them know what we have in our space. So that it's the beginning of the story is what's next. So we're going to keep that out there through the entire year, and it's been pretty incredible to see the feedback that we're getting from that video and just starting a really strong conversation so that we can build something together.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what we do as chamber leaders, particularly around workforce development, is promotion and telling the right story to the right audience. Um, Whether they knew it when they hired you or not, but they're, obviously getting somebody with decades of media, sales, marketing experience. How do you think that unique perspective gives you an opportunity to help accelerate talent recruitment in Janesville?
For me, I never realized what a strong asset it was until I got here, because much of what we are doing, we just need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it in a way that informs the audience that we want to know what we have and how they can come in and take advantage of the opportunities that we have. It is often, as you know, Zach, there's a lot of things going on all the time in every community. And how do you really draw them in is through storytelling. You tell them something that they want to be a part of and that they get to, you know, build a chapter in the book. And then you have people that you've drawn to your community who come and help you achieve your goals. We recently recruited the manager for the Jets, and he said, "Okay, I've got to get started." And I said, "Okay, you've got to go out and help people in this community. That's how you become a part of this community." So, over and arching, when we see new businesses come to Janesville and want to be a member of Forward Janesville, the first thing they say and they learn is, how do I participate? How do I be a part of the solution? So I think that's going to be our story to be successful, is that we are inviting people to the community who want to be a part of something and build something together. So I think that's probably what we'll learn when we finish our assessment, but we are still kind of assessing what the community thinks about who we are and how we do things.
Yeah. Fort Janesville, like the Greater Madison Chamber, they're more than a century old. I mean, they have they've had storied past and storied communities, and they've been part of ups and downs and successes and failures, and they live and breathe by how the communities breathe. I'm curious about your thinking around the role of a modern chamber of commerce. All institutions across the nation, at best, people are skeptical. At worst, they're openly hostile towards them. We run important institutions that communities can't thrive or even survive without. I'm curious about how you think about your role in making sure that Ford Janesville stays relevant and continues to provide values to your members. When you talk about sort of the core engine of what we do, where's your head at when you're thinking about what the future looks like?
Um, I think it's very bright. So since we've gotten together as a team, we've actually grown our membership. We've been at 500 for many, many, many years. In this last year, and any day now, we're going to break 600 members with
That's
Forward
great.
Janesville. So what we're seeing is maybe some companies who were sitting on the sidelines, who were unsure of the value of our organization. But we got involved in some things, as you commented, some chambers won't touch. So we got involved in the school referendum, and we said we need to help our students have great schools so that we can have a great community. And I think that inspired a lot of our community members to say, "Oh, okay, Forward Janesville is taking a lead role in some of these really important initiatives that affect my quality of life." And so as we all kind of live and breathe and work here and want this to be the best community it can be, we're seeing a lot of our community members really raise their hand and say, you know, we identify that Forward Janesville is doing a lot of great work. They're following our public policy areas and they want to be a part of that. So um, we feel very fortunate and blessed that we had a strong organization that we came into. But we do have an opportunity with a couple of people in this organization with a communications background to really talk about what we do and bring more people under the tent so that we can all work together. And that is, I think that's our secret here is we're just bringing more people in and helping them get behind our vision and move some things forward.
You know, 110 years ago, 111 years ago, our organization put out essentially a pitch book. It was like our first attempt to recruit companies and talent. And in some of those founding document languages, there was this quote that I love, and I'm just going to read it so I get it right. But progress is the result of retaining the good of the old and embracing the tried of the new. So retaining the good of the old and embracing the tried of the new. As you think about your role as president and CEO, what does that quote mean to you?
Yeah, I think for us, we have to respect that we do have a strong manufacturing community here. And that is fundamentally, we're farmers and manufacturers in Rock County. That's a lot of what you will run into. But there are new technologies and new ways to solve problems and being open minded to that the path forward might be not linear, right? We might hit a bump in the road and we might need to um, imagine solving this problem in a very new way. I think that is the most exciting opportunity that we have. And I really enjoy bringing our community together, but regional partners like yourself, Zach, so that you can look at some of the challenges that we are looking at and you might have a fresh set of eyes and say, did you all think about this or did you look at that? So I think it's the collaboration with regional professionals as well as the people that are here all the time that is going to help us really draft that plan for what's next, Janesville.
Well, when I think about what the try to the new is, I'm really excited, Shar, about the possibility of our organizations and our regions coming closer together. One of the stories I told your board was your Congressman Brian Stile, asked us. We were there for our DC fly-in a month or so ago, and he's a great friend to us. He as always gives us amazing hospitality and spends a large amount of time with us and listens, understands us, hears us, acts on our behalf. So we certainly value and appreciate his leadership. But one of the questions he asked me was, why are we not doing a better job of thinking about that 90 corridor and the relationships between Rock and Dane County and maybe other counties, whether that's Rockford or Sauk County? And just your enthusiasm, your leadership, and your board's leadership makes me very excited about what could be. And so as I think about what the try to the new is what can we do together um, as two organizations trying to accomplish a very similar goal?
Agreed. Agreed.
So with that, I want to thank you, Shar, for spending some time with us. It's gone fast. It's sort of hard to believe that we're already on time. I want to congratulate you on a great first year in the role. I think you're doing a great job down there, and I'm excited to see what else that you do. I appreciate you and your board for asking me to come. I also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Perkins Coie, for making sure this project and program is available to all of you. And then in addition to the presenting sponsorship, I also want to thank Baker Tilly and Easy Office Products for their Accelerate sponsorship. And certainly want to thank Shar for her time today and thank all of you for spending your lunch with us. We'll see you next time right here on Lunch Update.
Thank you.